this evening we shall discuss briefly three kinds of training in the teachings of the Buddha. In fact, the teachings of the Buddha can be summarized into three kinds of trainings. Training in morality, training in concentration, and training in wisdom. Once there was a Deva, deity, was in doubt. So the Deva came to ask the Buddha in verse, a tangle inside, a tangle outside. This generation is entangled in a tangle. I ask you this, O Gautama, who can disentangle this tangle? Then the Buddha answered, a man established on virtue, wise, developing the mind and wisdoms, a bhikkhu, ardent and discreet, he can disentangle this tangle. So what's the meaning of tangle? Tangle is a term for the network of craving. As you know, there are various kinds of craving. Craving for the desirable objects or sensual objects. So this is craving is arising again and again among these objects. The six objects are sense of the visible object, the sound, the smell, or the taste, or tangible objects, and mental objects. So the tangle inside, a tangle outside. Outside refers to the six external sense object. Inside refer to the six internal sense bases. Or sometimes it's also referred to craving for one's own belongings and belonging of others. So craving arises in this way. So this generation is entangled in a tangle. In other words, living beings are all entangled by the tangle of craving. When we talk about cravings, as we have discussed in the previous talk, they are the cause of the cause of suffering. Consists of three kinds of craving. Craving for desirable objects, craving associated with the eternity view, and craving with craving associated with annihilation view. So there are these inner tangle consists of six internal sense bases. Outer tangle or tangle outside consists of 12 external sense objects. So in other words, there are these 12 sense bases, and multiplied by these three kinds of cravings, it comes to 36 types of craving. So the Deva wanted to know who can disentangle this tangle. He asked Gautama. Gautama is a name of the clan of the Buddha's family. So the Buddha answered, a man established on virtue, wise, developing the mind and wisdoms, a bhikkhu ardent and discreet, he can disentangle this tangle. So here the Buddha explains the practice or the path leading, the practice or the path or the way leading to the ultimate purity of the mind. You may find these two stanzas in the commentaries of Visuddhimagga or the Path of Purification. You may also find this discourse in the Samyutta Nikaya, the connected discourses of the Buddha. So one has to establish on virtue. It means one must establish well in virtue. One must purify one's morality. So purification of moral conducts is the foundations of the mental trainings. So it's important to purify morality. So what's morality? Morality refers to the mental volition or cetana, which arises in a person who abstains from unwholesome physical actions, evil speech, as well as wrong mental actions. So in other words, the observance of morality involves a mental state known as volition or cetana. In the Noble Eightfold Path, there are these three mental factors: right speech, right actions, right livelihoods. There are three kinds of mental factors known as three kinds of virati. Virati means abstention or abstinence. In verse 1, when one abstain from unwholesome speech, such as telling lies, that abstentions involve an important mental factors, this cetana. So 3 kinds of virati are found in the various cetasika. There are 52 mental associates or mental concomitants. So out of 52 cetasikas or mental concomitants, there are three kinds of virati: right speech, right actions, right foods. So it implies that through the observance of morality, what's been developed or cultivated is the mind. In other words, one needs to develop these mental restraints, which is known as cetana sila, or volition morality. If one is not able to exercise mental restraints or volition morality, then one would commit evils. One would commit evils. For example, when there's a unwholesome desire to tell a lie, then one realizes telling lie is an unwholesome speech. It's a violation of moral conducts. So then there's a arising of volition or intention to restrain oneself from telling lies. So that's why morality is defined as a cetana sila, morality of volitions. Similarly, sometimes there are unwholesome mental actions. The unwholesome mental actions are thoughts of ill will, covetous. In other words, there's a rising of unwholesome thoughts or unwholesome desire to covet whatever belongs to others, or unwholesome desire or longing for what belongs to others. Then the third unwholesome mental action is wrong view. When, for example, when there's a thoughts of ill will arising, in those wishing harm, then one realizes that this is an unwholesome mental action. So definitely if one realize this is unwholesome mental actions, then one wishes to purify the mind. Definitely there will be a rising of intention to remove unwholesome thoughts, the thoughts of ill will. So with this intention, with the rising of intention, then the thoughts of ill will is removed, and replaced by the thoughts of goodwill. So this practice of morality is very important. It's because one is able to develop the volition to restrain oneself from committing any kinds of evil. In other words, one is able to develop mental restraints from all kinds of unwholesome actions, especially evil speech, unwholesome body deeds. In that way, it becomes a supportive condition or a foundation to make progress in mental training or mental culture. If one is not able to restrain oneself from committing unwholesome speech or unwholesome body conduct, then it's even difficult to train the mind or cultivate the mind. So one has to establish well in virtue. Virtue here means sila. Then the Buddha said, a man established on virtue wise. Here wise means endowed with understanding or wisdoms. But this wisdoms or understanding is refers to those who are born with three good roots or three wholesome roots. When you have chance to study or to read Abhidhamma, if a person who is born with three wholesome roots or three good roots, or aloba, non-greed, adosa, non-hatred, amoha, non-delusion, then one will be endowed with a condition to attain, to realize the truth, or to attain enlightenment. So here wise means referring to the understanding of wisdom, born of karma, by means of a rebirth linking with three wholesome roots. Then the Buddha said further, developing the mind and wisdoms. So developing the mind here refers to the practice of concentration or samadhi. Wisdom means the development of insight knowledge or cultivation, training in wisdom. So in brief, these three kinds of training are known in Pali as Adi Sila, or Adi Citta, Adi Panya. Adi Sila means training in higher morality. Adi Citta means training in higher mind. In other words, training in concentration. Adi Panya, training in higher wisdom. So in brief, training in morality, training in concentration, and training wisdom. Um, um, so here it does not only mean training in mundane concentration and mundane wisdoms, but in actual fact it refers to training of supramundane consciousness and supramundane wisdoms. Only by the attaining of supramundane concentration and supramundane wisdom, then was able to disentangle the tangle. But via mundane consciousness and mundane wisdoms, it's also not possible to attain supramundane consciousness, supramundane wisdom. So one needs to develop concentration. For example, in the practice of mindfulness meditation, one needs to develop moment-to-moment mindfulness. One needs to develop moment-to-moment concentration. One needs to develop moment-to-moment insight knowledge. So meditators need to put forth effort. So meditators have to mindful from one moment to next moment. Sometimes meditators to mindful and note from one object to next object. Similarly, meditators also make an effort to concentrate the mind from one moment to next moment. So at the beginning of the practice, the momentary concentration is not developed. So meditators need to mindful and note constantly, continuously. For example, when the painful sensation is very persisting, meditators have to mindful and note pain, experiencing the painful sensation from one moment to next moment. If there's a tension arising due to the pain, the meditators should mindful of the tension. Sometimes meditators may note it as it really occurs, tension, and so on. So meditators can't stay with one object. Sometimes an object has not disappeared, but it's been taken over by a stronger object. It's the nature of the mind to notice a stronger object. The meditators should mindful and note the stronger object as it really occurs. So when the mindfulness is active, if there's a mental state arising, that active mindfulness, you notice the thinking instantly. The meditators have to know it if the thinking did not disappear instantly. So only when meditators could develop mindfulness from one moment to next moment, eventually they shall be able to pay full attention to any object at that moment. So only meditators are able to pay full attention to one object at each moment, constantly and continuously. Then meditators will begin to gain momentary concentration. When there's momentary concentration, there's realization of insight knowledge, for example, impermanent. So this experience of insight is also being carried forward from one moment to next moment. then it's possible or to realize some insight knowledge and eventually attainment of supramundane wisdom. So that needs effort. So the effort here means ardence. A bhikkhu ardence and discreet. So the word bhikkhu is not only referring to those who have renounced the world. Here the bhikkhu means those who see fear in the samsara, who see fear in the cycle of birth and death again and again. So it's because of this fear one aspire to be free from samsara. So it's because of the fear of samsara. There's a reason you put forth effort to purify the mind in order to be free from the samsara. So there's the meaning of bhikkhu. So in order to be free from samsara, one must be ardent. What's the meaning of ardent? Ardent means one who is endowed with a strong effort or energy. And it's not an ordinary effort or ordinary energies. When you read the discourse on the practice of four foundation mindfulness, the Buddha also say one must be, the bhikkhu must be ardent. The word ardent means atapi. Atapi. One is endowed with strong effort. Effort that enable one to overcome the mental defilements. So it comes from the word atapa. The meaning of atapa means, or in the sense of burning up the defilements. If one doesn't endow with such effort, then it's not possible to burn up the defilements. So one who is endowed with such effort, then one is known as atapi. One is endowed with the effort to burn away the mental defilements. So the word ardent means one is endowed with a lot of strong enthusiasms or very strong persisting effort in the practice. So one must be ardent. And the word discreet is explained in the commentary as a kind of protective understanding or protective wisdoms, or it means spearheading the practice in developing the wholesome states, in the practice of concentration and cultivation of wisdoms. So in other words, the teaching is all about three kinds of training. Only one who is successful in the practice, then one could remove completely the three evil roots, lobha, dosa, moha, greed, hatred, and delusion or ignorance. In that way, one has disentangled the tangle. One will be free from samsara eventually. So the practice or the teaching is about three kinds of training. In Pali is Adi Sila, Adi Citta, Adi Panya. So these three kinds of training also help one to overcome three stages of mental defilements. We have explained the three stages of defilements in one of the previous talk. The first stage of defilements is known as Anusa Kilesa. Is translated as a latent defilements or defilements that are lying dormant in the mind, or some scholars translated it as a potential to do evil. In other words, as long as one has not yet attained enlightenment, the potential to do evil is lying dormant in the mind. We can only remove the potential to do evil by attaining the supramundane wisdom. The supramundane wisdom consists of path and fruition knowledge. So we can't remove anusa kilesa or latent defilements by concentration. So due to impingements of sense objects with the sense doors, defilements can arise. For example, if the sense object is not agreeable, or in other words is not present, then aversion could be arising. If the sense object is a present sense object, one who has been longing for it, then craving is arising, and so on. So in that way, defilements have been manifested in the mind. So one needs to remove it. One needs to overcome it. So one may remove it by concentration. For example, directing the mind to a present object or an inspiring object. In that way, though any defilements that have been manifested in mind will be overcome by concentration. So if one doesn't make an effort to remove it, when the manifested defilements are getting stronger and stronger, it may cause a person to violate moral conducts or moral precepts. So the second stage of defilements is known as Pariuttana Kilesa in Pali. The third stage is known as Vitikama Kilesa. In other words, the defilements is so strong, one is not able to control oneself, or in other words, one is overpowered by that strong defilements, and then one commits certain evils, such as violation of the first precepts, second precepts, and so on. So here, if one has firm commitments or determination to keep morality purified, one may be able to restrain oneself from violation or transgressions of moral precept, even though the mind is defiled. So that need a strong volition or intention to restrain oneself or to abstain oneself from evils. So when there's arising of intention or volition to restrain oneself from any kinds of evil, so this known as sila, because of strong volition to restrain oneself from committing any kinds of evil, then one would be able to abstain oneself or restrain oneself from committing evils. So it shows that one is endowed with mental strength, the strength to restrain oneself, or the intention to restrain oneself from all kinds of evil. If one is not able, if the strength of the mind is very weak, the intention or volition to abstain is very weak, then one could be overpowered by mental defilements or impurities of the mind. Then one would commit certain evils. So it's important to develop mental strength. But it's not possible to strengthen the mind without meditation or mental training. So it's important to train the mind or to cultivate concentration, wisdoms, or insight knowledge. So he can disentangle. You know, only one who has attained the supramundane wisdom. For example, the first path of knowledge, Sotapatti Magga Jnana, that first path knowledge will uproot completely wrong view, ditthi, and doubt, vicikicca, doubt about the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, or doubt about the practice of training that lead one to the attainment of enlightenment. So in other words, these three kinds of training help us to purify three kinds of conduct eventually. In other words, mental conduct, verbal conduct, and body conducts. So the teachings aim to purify these three kinds of conduct through these three kinds of training. So no one can do it for you. You yourself have to do it. The Buddha always said, purity or impurity depends entirely on oneself. So we could undertake these three kinds of training all the time. It's only take up the trainings during the retreats or in the monasteries. We should make an effort to train ourselves, especially morality, which is the foundation of the mental training, or training in concentration and training wisdoms. So the foundation is virtue or morality, sila. Then the second training concentration, and the top is training in wisdoms. So we have to undertake three kinds of training at the same time. There's another sutta where the Buddha explained with a simile. Sometimes some people might think that I have to purify my morality completely, then it's only possible to develop insight of wisdom. So in that sutta, the gist of that discourse is that the Buddha said, virtue purified by wisdom purified by virtue. So what does it mean? So if one endow wisdoms, if one put forth effort to establish in virtue, to keep the morality purified, then it serves as a foundation to develop wisdoms. When one is able to make progress in the practice of training wisdoms, then one will be endowed with firmer determinations or volition to keep the morality purified. So the Buddha explains with a simile of hand washing hands. If both hands are dirty, if the left hand washing itself, the right hand washing itself, both hands will not be cleansed completely. So only both hands are washing each other's, then both hands will be clean completely. So similarly, one put forth effort to train oneself to purify the moral conducts or morality. At the same time, one should take up the mental trainings especially training in mindfulness meditation, which leads to realization of insight knowledge wisdoms. So when wisdoms, insight knowledge is developed or making progress, definitely one would be endowed with stronger strength, mental strength, or determinations to keep the morality purified. So the most important is being ardent. Ardent means endowed with strenuous effort. So if the effort is not a wholehearted effort, then it's not possible to be successful in these three kinds of training. So effort is important. So in the scriptures, the Buddha used the word ardent or atapi. Atapi means in the sense of burning up and consuming the mental defilements. If the effort is weak, then one is overpowered by defilements. So you wish to disentangle. Disentangle is the network of craving, and craving is the strongest factors. It's because of craving beings are wandering in the samsara, the rounds of birth and death again and again. So it's important to understand that the teaching of Buddha in brief these three kinds of training. The aim is to attain ultimate purity of mind. So if one wish to attain ultimate purity of mind, then one must be ardent. In other words, put forth strenuous effort into the practice.